start. Next up, we have the Assistant Superintendent's report. Dr. Savannah?
Thank you. The attached reports will provide the board with financial information through March 31st. This represents 75% of the fiscal year. So keep in mind, COVID-19 impacted us financially only 1 week during March due to spring break the last week in March. So I'll briefly touch on the financial impact of COVID-19 after presenting the March information, and you will also see and hear more information at the coming board meetings. So my report begins on board book page 10, the monthly summary report. And the total revenue for the month was $11,576,701, with 96% of that coming from property taxes. That was our spring property tax collection, and 2% coming from evidence-based funding, which is our state funding. The total expenditures for the month were $2,128,528, with 79% of that expenditure going towards salary and benefits and 6% going towards special education tuition. On board book page 11 are the monthly financial statements. Year to date in the operating fund, the district has received a little over $24 million and expended a little over $20 million. This surplus will be continued to spend down for the remainder of the year, as the district will not receive significant revenue outside of a little bit of interest income for the remainder of the fiscal year. On the next page, the summary of revenues shows that the district has received 92% of our revenue in the operating funds for this year. This amount is the same as last fiscal year at this time. The summary of expenditures on the following page shows the district has spent 75% of the budgeted expenditures for the year in the operating accounts, and this amount is also the same as last fiscal year at this time. What's not the same as last fiscal year at this time is COVID-19. And so you'll see some of that impact in my report next month, but we will see some impact this year. So while we have already collected a majority of our biggest source of revenue, which is property tax, we will be losing revenue in registration fees, food service, rentals, and vending machines are some of the big ones. On the expenditure side, we will have some savings in some areas, such as substitute transportation for both special education and athletics, utilities, as we are not running the building to the full capacity, as well as athletics. However, we do also have some increased expenditures in things such as food service and possibly summer school, as well as could possibly be some graduation costs as well. So right now, I think it's hard to estimate exactly where we're going to come in for the year. I think a lot of it will depend on whether or not we get any additional revenue that we are due. Some of that revenue is federal grant reimbursement and continued state payments. There's talks as to whether or not those will continue primarily in some of the state grants. If we don't get those, we will have an even bigger deficit than we initially projected. If we do get some of those, we will finish closer to our budget. So we'll have a better picture next month as to where we will be. There was a question submitted about next year. Next year, we will see a bigger financial impact due to COVID-19. Property tax collection rates will most likely decrease, and appeals will most likely increase. Typically, that's a long, drawn-out process, but I do think next year there will be a bigger financial impact, especially in some of the revenues at the state level. Next in my report on board book page 14 is our third quarter rental report. For the third quarter, you'll see that the district collected $22,737 in revenue and expended $7,823. At this time last year, the district collected a little over $14,000 in revenue. So we're currently tracking a little higher than the prior year up until COVID-19 hit. Of the revenue from this quarter, 53% of it came from facility charges, with the majority of rentals in the field house, followed by the wrestling room. Year to date, the district has collected $69,678 and has expended $20,414. This surplus from rentals is used to offset costs related to the upkeep of facilities. And again, this was tracking somewhat similar to where we were the previous year. Currently, we're conducting a thorough review of rental rates by comparing our rental rates to other schools. and we will be sharing that with the Facilities Advisory Council in May. There were also 2 questions submitted about the rental report. The first question was about fourth quarter rentals. So yes, we should assume that we will not have any fourth quarter rentals or summer rentals, as this is the worst case scenario and kind of where we anticipate us being right now. So between no additional revenue and some refunds that we need to issue, we anticipate being about $30,000 under budget on the revenue side for rentals. The second question that was submitted was in regards to the snow and salt surcharge, which is on board book page 17. We put a flat amount on each rental during the winter so that if we need to plow for a specific event, we have some money to offset the cost. And we add this cost to all winter rentals so that one group doesn't have to pay the entire cost. Additional reports that are included in my summary, which I will not go over in detail, that are included every month, are the Statement of Revenues and Expenditures report for the month of March, which is on board book page 19. And then on board book page 30 begins the Student Activity Account Summary report for the month of March for the board's information. And that concludes my Assistant Superintendent report.
Thank you, Dr. Smetana. That was awesome. I would just like to point out very briefly that this is the ultimate rainy day, right? Like, we are involved in the ultimate rainy day, and projections do not look favorable for public entities, municipalities, schools. Earlier this school year, earlier this fiscal year, we took a real hit in this room and on social media for having a large fund balance. And this is the very reason why we have kept a large fund balance. So we hopefully, fingers crossed, are prepared for the future. I think we're set up fairly well. We don't want to have to dip into that fund balance, but we don't have a crystal ball, right? So I just wanted to note that at this time. We optimistically look forward to a good future. We'll see what happens. The next item on the agenda is any discussion items. This is item 6 on the agenda. If you have any items for me, then we would come back around to them at number 10 on the agenda, item number 10. So is there anyone of my fellow board members that has a discussion item that they would like me to put down? No? Okay.